All right, guys, we are live. I have the pleasure of being here with, and I should have asked you this before. Is it Fayssal or Fayssal?
It's Fayssal, so it's like
Fayssal.
Hazel.
Okay, so Fayssal.
Yeah,
Perfect. Fayssal Bazzi. I got that last one right. The last name,
yeah,
Bazzi.
yeah. It changed. You can say
That's
Bazzi,
the easy
Bazzi.
part for us Americans. The one before that, that one I had a question for. But thanks
Hey
for
man,
coming on and giving
every
me your
time I'm in
time.
every time I've worked on an American production, it's different producers coming down and they're like trying to yell your name out for something. I
Yeah,
just answer if there's an F.
yeah, right. If it's close, all right. I'm assuming it's me. But
Yeah.
thanks so much for giving your time to come on,
No,
man.
no,
I mean,
absolutely, man.
and you live in Australia, right?
I do.
For most of your life.
Yeah, well, I was born in Lebanon and we moved here when I was about 3.5.
Okay.
So I've been here ever since, aside from travel and work, obviously, around the place.
Nice. I have a good friend through YouTube. He has a great channel too. He's from Australia, so you guys are in like a different. I always joke, a different dimension over there. It's, you're in new days in the future before it
I'm
hits us. Like
I'm
it's
telling
already
you,
Tuesday
JP,
for you.
it's let me tell you about Tuesday. It's cold,
Yeah.
and the leaves have fallen off the trees, my friend.
So that's what I have to look forward to tomorrow. Is what you're saying? I'm gonna wake up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look outside, and your prediction better be right because I'm gonna be
You're in New
very
York,
mad.
yeah?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah. Well, gave it away. I get that all the time with my accent. Yeah, but
It's a
I
great
mean,
accent.
thank you. I mean, to me, I'm just so used to it. But I do hear that often. But speaking of knowing the future and stuff, you better be right because of your character of Christou from Late
Hey,
Night with the Devil.
look, no
So
spoiler alerts though, but it didn't end well for our dear friend. So who knows
no,
what he actually knew?
it did not. It did not. Hey Larry, hey Mike, how you doing, guys? Everyone who hops in, and if you guys have questions by the end, we'll have a little time for him to ask him to be asking questions from you guys. So I asked this like first for every guest that I have on, just so I know what I'm dealing with. um, were you always a fan of horror films, or was that something that came as you progressed in life, or when you started acting and maybe you did something and that's what got you into it? What's your history with horror films?
Yeah, look, I used to love the Friday 13 movies, like
Yeah.
Jason. Uh, And Child's Play was probably the first thing I ever saw that just scared the living shit out of me. I used to, I remember my brother played it for me when I was maybe 6 or 7. And from that day
Yeah.
forward, my friend, all the toys were locked in the cupboard at night.
Oh yeah.
um, but later in life, like this is probably, I would say this was the first horror film I was involved in. I get cast in a lot of dramas and stuff down this side of the pond,
Yeah.
but I also have the blessing of having a beautiful partner who would like to go to sleep to horror films. So I spent
Perfect.
a lot of our time together with her asleep and me watching these freaky things at the end of the night. But I always just I love the genre. It's like if you can make anyone feel anything
Yeah.
in a cinematic experience, it's wonderful. And to get that right, like even if you get it wrong, it's still great.
Oh yeah, I mean, we look at the '80s with all the garbage movies that we know are garbage, but they'd have so much charm to them. Like that's
Yeah,
the decade of charm. Is like the '80s horror
yeah,
scene back then. All those movies were like not all of them. There's some actually well-made films, but we got a lot of those ones that just were for the money and just made real fast and stuff, but they had bad acting, bad everything, and yet we still adore those movies. And
yeah.
the Friday the 13th ones, like they're a little higher quality, but they're almost at that level from most people who aren't horror fans.
Totally. And like and as an actor, I'm always looking for like you can watch a bad film but still have great moments and
Oh
things.
yeah.
And a part that always just sticks out with me, I think it might be Friday 13th 4 or 5, is when Jason first becomes like a zombie and he's going to like just rip he's going to like throw someone somewhere and he throws them and their arm is still attached like to his hand.
Okay. Yeah. Part
And he just
six,
has
smiley face.
yeah, and he just has that beat of like looking at it and like
Yeah.
realizing he's evolved, like he's stronger than he was, and like I remember watching that as a kid and just going like, fuck, that's a really good moment. That's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
moment in cinema. That's a great moment in a character. Like, you know, just finding out that, the discovery of a character kind of, and the audience being allowed to witness that is really great.
Oh yeah. I actually just had the director Tom McLaughlin of that part
Hey,
on last week. Great guy, and I had Jason from that movie also. It's just
so
it's one of
good.
my favorite. It's one of my favorite in the series for sure.
Yeah.
Mike has a question. Who is your favorite slasher horror character? I guess I mean slasher villain.
Oh, well, what would you define as a slasher? Because it would be like Jason, right?
Yeah, like Jason, Freddy, Chucky would count too, I guess. Yeah. Michael Myers, like in that type of thing.
Well, I have to go Jason because he's probably the most viewed.
Yeah. I mean, there's like 13 movies now.
Yeah.
Same as the name, and now they're working on a TV series actually.
Man, and then the hype for getting Jason and Freddy to fight, like that was
That
years
took
and years and
forever.
years in the making. Like just
I know.
you see that mask come down and then like get pulled into hell, and then you go like,
Yep.
oh fucking, that's amazing, and then you have to wait
Like 20,
yeah,
not
a
20, but like
decade.
15 years or something like that before we finally got it. They were
Yeah,
trying to do that since part 7, the one with
yeah.
when Kane Hodder first took the role over.
Well, it's so,
They planned it like 20 years until we finally got it.
but that stuff's so hard. Like, you know, you see it with the old school Kong versus Godzilla stuff too, because you're dealing with two
Oh yeah.
franchises and nobody wants to lose. So you have to
Mhm.
figure out a polite way to, like in the original Kong and Godzilla, where there's two different versions of the ending,
Yeah.
like back in the day. And if you're the one released in Japan, like Godzilla gets out of the sea, the one
Yeah,
released in
yeah,
America,
because
Kong gets
they're
out of the sea.
smart and they made sure to do those 2 endings because they pissed some people off, the
Yeah.
losing team, like you said. But, yeah, it's just some movies just really stick with you and stuff. Like, Halloween was my first horror movie on
Oh yeah.
Halloween night at 6 years old, and
Wow.
I saw it in the TV Guide, and I said, "That's tonight," and I saw the title, and I threw it on. I had no idea what to expect, and just the music. John Carpenter's score and just the mask and just everything just entranced me about that movie. And then Friday was next because they used to play them like marathons of them on TV, the Friday movies, like from
Mm.
1 through 8 usually, right? Because those were the ones that were out like at the time. They didn't play Jason Goes to Hell often. And then from there was just Blockbuster like twice a week and just
And your
always for the
parents were
heart.
cool. Your
Oh
parents
yeah,
were
they
cool
didn't
with you
give a
watching
fuck at all. They just said go pick out your movies and stuff. And then like maybe a few years later, even my dad would show me a movie here and there. He's not too big on horror, but that's great. Second question I usually ask is what got you into acting personally?
And I've been acting professionally for about 23 years now.
Yes.
What got me into it was moving to an English speaking country, really. And we came here and I couldn't speak English. I spoke Arabic and French. And I was 3.5, but dad had to go back to uni because our country was at war. His credentials weren't recognized here. So then they just didn't want me around the house. And my birth certificate was destroyed in the war. So they said I was 5 and put me straight into school. So I was like 2 years younger than everyone at school. And
Okay.
I was having trouble learning English because I'd come home and mum would teach us French and Arabic. And I was just like, the letters are the same as French.
Yeah.
and I had this one really great teacher when I finally got to year 3. So after 3 years of having a really hard time, who was just like, you know, if you want anything, just show me, and would like show me like, you know, you want a pencil, you need to go
Yeah.
to the
Hand
bathroom,
gestures
hand
and stuff.
gestures and
Yeah.
stuff, because I started understanding by then, but I still couldn't speak it.
Yeah.
And then one day I just like, you know, was getting my confidence and was speaking, and she went, "You're really great at this, Fayssal. You should be an actor." And I'd never thought of doing anything else. So the importance of good
Great.
teachers. And
That's
I've been
a great
thankful,
story.
let me knock on wood, thankful that I've never had to do anything else for, you know, 20 something years, which is,
Yeah.
you know,
Which yeah, people in chat and people will see this in the future. Which I mean, we'll get into late night in a sec of since how big that movie just blew up. But yeah, Faysal's been acting for a long while, and I know I've seen you in something because I mostly watch horror nowadays, especially like the last 10 years. That's almost all I watch, unless there's like I'm a big comedy fan too. So I know you were nominated for awards for two films, and the Merger, and I am so sorry, I can't remember the other one.
No, it's all right. That's so we have the ACTRA Awards here, which is the Australian Academy. So they're kind of like a blend of our Oscars and our Emmys in one kind of night. And I've been nominated for 3 so far. So it was for the Merger, the Measure for Measure, and for a TV show called Stateless, which I won that one. So maybe you've seen Stateless. I don't know if you've seen.
I've heard of Stateless, but when I saw it late night. When you came on, I just the accent first of all was great, like great job with that. We'll get to that, but I was like, he looks so familiar to me, and also I forget the guy's name who played Haig, but it's great.
Oh yeah, Ian Bliss.
Yes, that's it, Bliss, great actor, and I recognized him too. And then it hit me from The Matrix, and I think it's from The Merger because I remember seeing it like a long while ago, and I don't remember much about it, but I remember that's where I saw you from. So yeah, you've done a lot of great things in film. And congrats on the win. I didn't see that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because a lot of my work is in Australia. You might have also, if you've seen Shantaram on Apple TV, I'm in that as well.
Okay, I've heard of that one too. I don't have Apple.
That was you got JT.
I'm not an Apple guy. I'm still on Microsoft and stuff. And Android. That's I don't know.
You got an Android phone, JT, man.
Yeah,
come
I got
on.
an Android. Of course, I got an Android because it's better than an Apple. Why would
hey.
But no, that's great. I love that story. Like you said, it is an emphasis on great teachers when you're talking of just just having someone say something to you at the right moment in your life.
Yeah,
that just instantly hits. And then never look back. Just go and like this is what I want to do, and I'm going for it.
Look, and it hasn't been easy at times. Like I graduated from acting school just after 9/11 happened, and obviously the roles for Arab-looking people were not kind of the things I wanted to do. But thankfully here, I managed to get into like the theater scene here for the first like 5 or 6 years when I came out and established myself as a theater actor, and just waited for the good roles to kind of start coming along.
Oh yeah, that's great. Here, pro Android. We got
pro Android.
He's pro Android. Good. So I guess that Chris, your comment, it's a good segue into these films, as it is also my horror film of the year. I was blown away by this film. And I watch a lot of different horror movies, like Chris, who just commented that we're big into Italian giallo films and the Italian horror films, and I love Japanese horror, Asian horror, all. So I watch a lot, but like seeing an indie film like this, then I heard so much hype about it, and I don't watch trailers purposely because I like going into a movie or like blind as can be. Not knowing anything about it, like not seeing a trailer, not hearing a word about what the story is, just going in, hearing the title. But some movies you can't avoid the hype because it gets really big. Yeah. And that's how this movie was. And I ended up seeing it maybe a week or two after it came out. And just everything about this movie worked for me 100%. And I think that they nailed the entire 70s talk show look. Like it looks like you're watching like Johnny Carson, like with David Dastmalchian as the host, who just his performance is unreal, and the whole cast, all of you guys. I reached out to all of you guys when that movie came out. I said I got to talk to all of these people. They're amazing performances, amazing actors and actresses, and like just there's the perfect balance of horror and comedy in it also. And when they bring out your character of Christou is where just hilarity starts for me. Like, you had me laughing hysterically that first watch. And I described this movie to the best word that I use to describe this film is fun. It's
Yeah.
just a fun watch. Like, it was a blast. The first time watch, I've watched it 3 times at this point, and did a long video on it in a talk show format with fake audience
Oh,
sounds and
great.
everything. I went on for like 40 minutes, which is usual here on a movie, and just loved everything about it. But so, how did it come together for you with getting cast into this role? And how far along was the project when you were brought on? How was the casting? How was the audition? Just tell us how it all evolved.
Yeah, man. So it came kind of like just past the height of COVID for us. So um, I'd spent that COVID year. I've been very fortunate in the last few years that while COVID's happening and strikes and stuff, that I've still managed to continue to work. And this was one of those instances. I'd spent that COVID year 2020, 2021, for 10 months in Thailand and Melbourne shooting Shantaram for Apple. And I came back home, and it was kind of, I was in a state of, what's the word? I was kind of like a rat in a cage for those 10 months, because when we were in Thailand was completely shut down. We were the only foreigners there allowed to film, but on a curfewed kind of basis.
Yeah, so a lot to work around.
A lot to work around. If if you're filming and you go past 9 p.m., you have to sleep in your trailer till 4 a.m, so the government can keep the streets clear, like that kind of stuff. And I basically got home from that. And was just a shut-in for a while, because I hadn't been used to anyone talking to people, or hanging out with friends, because it's just been me in my hotel room or me on set for 10 months. And then this kind of opportunity came back to go back to Melbourne. And Melbourne, I don't know if you are aware, in lockdowns was the most locked down city in the world during COVID. And so
I did not know that.
And to go back there, like, because I'm from Sydney, I got a call from my agent saying, like, the Cairns want to see like a tape for something, and the original Christou sides and the Christou in the script, it's like it left a lot to be created. So it was just like Christou walks out, international accents kind of thing, but then they had all these C's in there, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna pitch him as a fraudster who is pretending to be like Spanish or something like that, and see if they like it. And they did, and they called, and we started kind of talking about backstories and things like that. But they were kind of like, whatever you want to do, you just like, we like you. You want to come down? You want to do it? But then the travel from Sydney to Melbourne was,
I can imagine.
I was like, a lot of the times I was one of the only people on the plane in a mask, like, you get shuttled in from place straight to your hotel. And due to that, I don't know if you know this, it was like we weren't allowed. The shoot was about like 30 something days, but we only had an audience for 2 of those days because of COVID restrictions. So we had to shoot a lot of it. A lot of it's just David and I in an empty stage, and then
crazy times, man.
Yeah, and then you try to kind of get it. You try to get the rhythms and the things you want, and the boys were pretty happy with me to take him where I wanted to take him, and also I went like, hey, can I, like, when he goes into like a bit of stress, duress, can I drop the accent and just like bring out the American kind of stuff? And they're like, yeah, like, do whatever you fucking want. I'm glad,
gave
like,
you so much freedom with the character.
It was so good. And like, it's unfortunately because of being in Sydney and it being in Melbourne, and things are so expensive during COVID, especially because you have all of this safety stuff. I think I'm allowed to say this. Who cares? I'm going to say it anyway. Christou was meant.
That's how I am. Just say whatever comes to mind.
Christou was meant to be in the last section as well, They couldn't afford bringing me back and also having the setup. So when David's going through his fever dream and going through everything, he was also meant to pop up in the ambulance and see me kind of like.
Oh, okay, that would have been cool to see.
Yeah, but they just they had no, like, the budget was gone,
and like you said, with how crazy it was, going back and forth and just the cost and everything. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's interesting. I never heard that. I can imagine it in my head the best that I can, like in the style of that ending and the way it's shot and the camera work.
I was really looking forward to that bit.
Yeah, that would right. That would have looked very, very good. And this my friend Ginger here, fellow Australian.
Hey,
fellow Aussie. So he's saying thank you for being here, fellow Aussie.
That's a great beard.
Oh yeah, he's got the best beard on YouTube. Like we say that often. That answers one of my questions. Was curious the inspiration for your character? How much of that was something you brought to it?
Yeah, look. So I had a look at a lot of psychics from the day, and because of the way the first scene was written, I really wanted to also kind of harness that the John Edwards thing. Do you remember John Edwards?
Oh yeah,
like just that.
That's instantly what came to mind. Yeah. It was just for like a Spanish John Edwards. Like doing this thing, and a great performer. Like
totally.
Yeah.
And he's got his people around doing the things, and like my backstory for Christou was he's a failed actor in the 70s, kind of like when I first started out, every ethnicity's put on the table, like going like, hey, can you play this? And then one day he like played like a Spanish guy and went like, hey, fuck, this works.
All right, just whatever goes over well with them, and they believe it.
Yeah.
Just did they give you any room to improvise, or was it all word for word from the script?
No, like that's great. That's the great thing about David as well, because once they start rolling, like he'll start just throwing things out, and I think having a good theater background and being confident with the accent and stuff, I took a lot of what he said and we just play. And then if you can get the camera guys to laugh even in a mask, then you go like, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought that there was. I was like, I had the inkling. Usually I have a good like sight for improv and stuff, but there are some lines of dialogue that just like when your character goes up to the couple, the mom and the daughter.
Yeah.
And then they say that Edmund took his life, and they say 5 years ago, and you bend down and say yes, but it feels like only yesterday. That is such a great line. Was that improv or was that written?
Yeah, but look, the good thing about that was Paula Arundel, who plays the mum. I didn't know she was cast in that role because of the way that it worked. I only saw the audience the day they came in, but Paula and I have done a lot of theater together. So like when she sat down, I went, "Oh yes!" And then the jerk guy from before, John Leary, who plays, who's the plant from the studio who just throws me off kilter. We've worked a lot together too. So when they both walked in, I went like, okay, great. Like Yeah,
it's like second nature at that point. It's like we work together. We got this. Like
you save a day of you save a day of trying to figure it out and kind of develop a shorthand, and you go, okay, that's safe. I can do what I want.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That makes that line even better. I know that it was just ad-libbed right there, because that had me in stitches. And then just like, how is working with like the effects and stuff like that they had to do and stuff, like when they start, and I love the choice of going black and white for behind the scenes, and the color back to color for whenever they're on air. That was a great decision. And they come back on with Carmichael Haig, and you look like you're about to die, dude. Like, they did such a good job with that, just making you up with the sweat and everything, that your character looks like he's ready to just go. And then you have that the spurting vomit scene. Like, how was that done, and how was doing those type of effects?
Well, if you look at, because I wanted to share something on my socials, like a video when it was first coming out, but one of the directors said, hey, just wait till Halloween to share that kind of stuff, in case people haven't seen it, but I'm assuming everyone watching this has seen it. But if you look at one of my once when I finish filming, one of my posts is, you see I'm getting a half body cast. So I did a lot of the spouting myself, and then they came back and reshot the scenes with a dummy and like a hose of vomit
pumping it through.
yeah.
I mean, that's the editing is fantastic because you can't tell at all.
Man, once you see the look of the dummy, it is perfect. Like Sharp Effects, who did all of the practical effects there, just so brilliant. Like even the vein that's like popping out of my head, all of the worms and Rhys.
Yep. Oh, the worms are just so good.
Man,
like that's when it goes full on body horror there. And I'm a huge Cronenberg fan, and love the whole body horror genre. So and didn't expect it at all, because this is the type of movie that, like, I said when I reviewed it, I said you have to experience this movie. It's not a movie that you can like really, you can tell the plot to someone of what it surrounds this show in the 70s, competing for Carson for ratings, and so on Halloween night, this is the footage.
Yeah.
But besides that, you have no idea where this movie goes. As each guest comes on, and then you're taken off, and in the ambulance, and then we have Carmichael Haig's whole thing, and then once you get to that third act, the whole hypnosis thing was brilliant.
Oh man,
like that interaction with the audience, and making you feel like that you were supposed to be hypnotized as well with the audience in the movie. Like that's such great writing. That's so creative.
I want to give a shout out to Ian Bliss, who you mentioned, who plays Carmichael Haig, because we had the table read a few days before we started, and Ian was not Carmichael Haig. Ian was reading the big print, and he was a smaller character. And then the actor who was playing Carmichael Haig had to pull out and just left them in the lurch with like 3 or 4 days to go. And Ian got thrown it, and he had 3 days to prep and before he started. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
he's real too in it.
He's incredible, and like learning the magics, like so instantly just learning all of Haig's dialogue and stuff, and also magician coming in teaching him how to do all the tricks.
yeah. Oh, that's great. I did not know that either. 3 days to get ready for that role. Wow, and he kills it. Like
he kills it.
Everybody, like, and the effects, like back to that, they all look so good. And I know some people that maybe split over the CGI at the end and stuff, but it works for me 100% because it's practical in there too, like with the head split and stuff, which reminds me of The Thing, which is my favorite film of all time by John Carpenter. When Palmer's head splits open, that's what it instantly reminded me of. And then I was like, this looks fantastic. And like the camera work, everything in this film just landed for me 100%, and I think it did for so many people. And they have had a decent amount of this type of format in the found footage genre. This isn't really like a found footage movie. It's more of that mockumentary, faux documentary type subgenre of found footage. But like we've had Hell House LLC, which is in a similar way, and I know this people from the movie Lake Mungo were involved with this film, correct? Well, they were producers, or how they were attached.
Look, there was this is the other hard thing about acting while you're working in a COVID environment is you meet so many people, and you don't know what their chins look like until the premiere.
Right? It's like I only know like 85% of your face. I don't trust you.
Dude, I spent 10 months working on that Shantaram set, and then didn't see people's faces until the LA premiere.
That's funny.
And just like people will come like, hey, and he's just like going, hey, oh yeah. That's who you are. I know those eyebrows.
It's such a crazy thing that we went through. Like it really just threw everything off.
Yeah, and it's amazing how people like, and it stopped everything for a few years, and then now everyone's like,
Yeah, I know. It's like, all right, well, remember that? Like, yeah,
remember
me
that bit,
too.
that blip?
Okay, yeah, that blip on history of humanity that is over for a bit, I guess, and who knows? Everyone's over it. Um, when it comes to like, when did you first see the film finished for the first time, and how long were you on set? Were you there the entire time? Did you see like each scene unfold and know the whole story? Like, or did you
No.
see that when the film was finally put together?
Yeah, yeah. Aside from obviously having read the scripts and stuff, because of COVID, I was only allowed to be there for my bits.
Yeah,
And because I live in Sydney, I'd fly in the night before. I'd
yeah,
like
you know, the
I'd
craziness.
I'd take a bunch of tests, and then I'd be on set the next few days, and then they'd fly me home, and then I'd fly in the next week for like do repeat. Um, so I hadn't seen the film until we a year after we finished it, at a cast and screw screening. And look, I knew it was going to be great because it's the only thing I've ever been in that I've watched multiple times. Um, because,
That's
and
awesome.
and I'd get invites from the directors going like, "Hey, you're probably sick of it, but do you want to come to the film festival screening? Do you want to do this?" And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
I like hearing how an audience reacts to it. Like, and
yeah,
then once you get like after like two screenings, I've watched it 4 times, I think, and then the other two just kind of be sitting there going like, "Oh, that bit's coming up. Let's see." Yes,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I've never watched some. They have like room viewing things here for that movie, The Room. I've never watched it
Oh
with
yeah,
people throwing the spoons and stuff like that, but it kind of like I went, oh, this is a enjoyable, viewed in a large group of people kind of movie, which I really loved.
yeah. Yeah. It's just a movie that, like, speaking back to like the interaction through the film of like it hypnotizing the audience and stuff. It reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if you saw the movie Incantation.
No,
It was a Taiwanese horror movie. It was on Netflix like 2 years ago, and it was pretty popular on Netflix. And I think it became the fastest, highest grossing Taiwanese horror film. Now,
wow,
I haven't seen any other Taiwanese horror Taiwanese horror film that I could think of,
but this is
but
the best.
yeah, exactly. This is the highest selling one and best, best grossing. But that has some type of similar interactivity, and it
Mm.
reminded me of that a little bit. But just the whole way that it was written, like when you first read the script for this movie, what was your initial thoughts like upon finishing the script?
Man, I laughed out loud, and I I loved it so much.
Yeah,
And look, I'll be honest. I was disappointed when I wasn't brought back for the finale
yeah,
section because I loved the bookend um, of the character, and I loved it to
yeah.
be part of the.
Having them come full circle at the end.
Yeah, and like seeing what happened because it's like, why not show it? But also understandable. I know the brothers. They were desperate to make a movie, and they wrote this for the COVID time because it's filmed in a studio. Um, who's coming in and out of there. Um, but I thought it was fan fucking tastic, and I really wanted to be in it.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, I can imagine just reading the screenplay and then just like if I was an actor, just having to jump on it, like just from reading the idea of it, it would sell me immediately.
Yeah,
And
and
because and like what is it like just dealing with like with this movie blowing up so much, and like getting so much hype, like
it's
nobody saw it coming, because asked this to so
no,
many people I have on, even old the Friday series of people that were in the actors and stuntmen in those movies. Nobody sees it coming.
yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
sees a movie. You just know, maybe you have a feeling it's something special, and hope for the best. But then when something like this happens, it's like a whole new world. Just your world got turned upside down. Like, what is it? What's it like experiencing that?
Well, it's especially in Australia. we do so many things here that we're so proud of that are excellent, that go nowhere past our shores, because the market is so it's so competitive. So I kind of had an inkling, because of the themes of this and because of how wonderful David is as an actor and also as a human being, that this would have legs, especially in the American market with the Halloween stuff. And then after I saw it, I was kind of like, oh, this deserves to be great. But you just never know, because it has to be, it has to come out at the right time. People have to get behind it for the right reasons, and it has to be enjoyable. But yeah, like I said, I've seen it 4 times, and it was like, I think this is a pretty special film.
No, it really is. And like I said, so far it's my favorite of the year. And a lot of people in chat and a lot of people that'll see this in the future, they feel the same way. Like, they're holding this up very highly, and it for damn good reasons. Like, everything about the camera work, the setting, and then just the feel of it, like the 70s feel and the look of the talk show. Every one of you guys' performances, all the characters, the writing, the twists and turns throughout this movie that you do not expect coming at all, especially that famous scene with the worms. And I love how it breaks out of his face too. Like, all of the effects work, is fantastic. There was like a small controversy with this movie with the artificial intelligence, and from everything I looked into and could find, it's 3 still images that play in between the acts that people further touched up, of the artists after that. Do you know anything about that, or feelings on that? I think it's stupid as hell. If any people who were getting behind that, it's AI usage. Like, so what?
Look, again, it came at I hadn't realized it until the controversy came out, and my first instinct was, oh, I didn't know that, and B, I hope this doesn't derail all of the excellent work in the film. I'm sure the brothers didn't mean any harm by it, but sure. Also the AI thing is like, it's. I also understand the point that if you start making allowances for like little bits, then like people can just recreate complete actors like in sections. So it's like, I don't think it's a big deal in the way that it was done, but I think it could be like an early domino piece to make, like, for instance, for Shantaram, it was meant to be set in India, and we had to shoot in Thailand because India's COVID stuff was just so high.
True.
But they were going to send, like, my character was a motorbike kind of badass kind of guy, and they were going to send stunt teams to India to film them riding around, so then you can like just superimpose. So I had to like do copies of my body to like, so they can superimpose before any of this kind of stuff happened. But I don't remember signing anything or anything like that about it. But now like Apple have full schematics of me, which
you know what? Now that's why I got Android. See, I'm not messing with Apple. See, I told you.
No, that's why I've got Apple. So then they go like, oh, he's still paying us. We'll just hold off on, using his image without his okay. But do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of, so although looking at it and knowing like the budget restraints and the brothers just going, oh, it's not quite what we want, let's just try to make it ourselves. Like, it seems harmless, but it could lead to, but I guess my stance is, I don't know where to stand on it, but like I hope it doesn't affect the film, because it's a great film, but it's also, I hope it doesn't lead to people just going, oh yeah, they did it in that, let's just do it anyway, like into the next thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think it affects it in any way. I mean, it's like I said, and David spoke out on this also and said that he stood by the directors and said it was only 3 shots. And I pointed out in my video on this movie, I say it's like Happy Halloween. I don't know if that's the exact one, but like that's if people are getting pissed that there's a picture of an owl that says Happy Halloween that was created by AI and was further touched up by the actual artist. Get the fuck out of here, man. I mean, I don't. Some people just like complaining today, like just to complain, which
Hey,
is
look.
very unfortunate.
Well, I hope the people that boycotted it will give it a chance and
Yeah,
you know get to
absolutely.
enjoy a really well made film
Yeah,
and
no,
just kind of go,
I
don't
agree.
do it again now that everyone knows.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's a good solution. Yeah, I think anyone who had that in their head as a negative and then avoided the movie, like absolutely should just give this. Everybody should give this movie just one watch, because I
Yeah.
guarantee most people will have a blast watching it. Because again, it's just a fun movie, like all the way around. Like it's a roller coaster of a film, and there's a lot of stuff you don't see coming. And what Mr. Dan here says, hey Dan, says, I think this film will seem fresh in 25 years, and I could see this. I can see the same thing, because they nailed the 70s feel so much that it's always going to feel like the 70s. No, so if it's 25 years from now and people watch it, they're going to say, wow, it's still going to feel like the 70s. It's still going to be in that period. So there's no way that it could really age.
Hey, I just got as you were talking, I just got a flashback to something too. That costume was so incredible that Christou was wearing.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I don't know why this just came back to me, but they only had one because it was expensive to make. So that every day they were like, hey, can you just not get any vomit or blood on this? And I'm like, dude, that's the whole.
Yeah, like that's the whole scene here. Like,
you have to make me look like shit, and then I've got to like.
I'm guessing they shot that scene last.
Yeah,
was the last, right? To make sure we're done. We got everything filled, right? Right. This is it, because
like,
this is the end of this.
You
This
wrote
whole
this.
outfit.
You know what happens.
That's too funny. So any upcoming projects that you can talk about, or that people can look
Yeah, look,
forward to?
I don't know what you get there. I'm about to next week. There's a show here called The 12. I know it went to Europe. I don't know if it went to the States, but playing a prosecutor up against Sam Neill, trying to send his clients to prison. Got a couple of movies coming out again. I don't know if they come out over there, but
Yeah, I find movies from all over. I got ways.
look,
Yeah.
if you
we grew up with the Napster age and stuff like that, so I mean, like it never went back since that technology arrived.
Yeah, look, well, I don't know if it works on any other platform, but on Apple TV, if you type my name, it comes up with some options to watch.
There you go. And I will put Fayssal's Instagram in the description when this ends, just so if anyone wants to follow him on Instagram, definitely follow him, give him some support. And look forward to some of those things. I mean, Ginger, you're in Australia, so you get everything over there that he's in.
Well, Ginger would have seen there was a really the funnest show I've worked on called Court here, but it's like a hostage drama, and it came out here in last year. Yeah, it came out here last year. It's the stupidest thing that you will ever see. Like Sean Penn's in it, Matthew Fox, Susan Sarandon as well. But because of the hostage themes, once everything broke out overseas, they kind of went, "Oh, we won't release this to America or to Europe until all of that dies down." So there's so you've got that to look forward to. You could probably Napster that somehow.
Yeah, I got it. I'll find that one out. And, I mean, the cast is you would think it would be better, but I mean, if it's the worst thing ever, they're still fun to watch.
No. It's I really love it, but people there's too many dick jokes. There's too many, But it's just.
I mean, they said that about what's the show, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So there's too many penises there all the time and stuff. I never got into the show. I mean, but I've heard that criticism all the time. What were some of your biggest influences on you as an actor? Like who inspired you?
Charlie Chaplin. Like growing up, I was a massive Charlie Chaplin fan. Just his kind of you know, if you break down every kind of Lazzi that he has in scenes, and you just go like, it's so well thought out and so like prepared that it just looks, it just looks like it's natural. And I think that's like, that's what kind of drew me to the theater first up, of just going, you do something 1,000 times, but it always looks like the first time, and that's the joy of acting.
Yeah. No, that's great. Question here from Dan. What was it like being in Mr. In Between for a few episodes? Great show.
I loved Mr. In Between. It was so good. I found working with Nash Edgerton, who is the director, he's so excellent, but in his own words, he's more of an editor than a director. So we'd be doing scenes, and it's the most setups I've ever had in a shoot. Like we'd be doing a 4-page scene, and we'd be there for like 8 hours, like every angle from every kind of way. And I go, Nash, what are you doing? I think we've got it. And he's like, well, I don't really know until I get into the edit suite. So I just like to cover everything. Like
so I guess so he has a million options, but it's like there's only so many options that you can have and go with, so everyone else expense and hard work and stuff.
Totally, but you watch it back, and it's so like brilliant, and like for something that's so the episodes are so short, but you're captivated from minute 1 to the end. It was it's a delight. It's one of those like, great, I'm so good. I'm so glad I was in that.
We got Mike saying, I'm a huge fan of the classic comedians from the silent era and the talkies. I'm guessing, are you a Stooges fan? Are you an Abbott and Costello fan?
Yeah. All of them, man. All of them.
Yeah,
especially being an immigrant kid who couldn't speak English. The silent films.
Yeah. Perfect, right? Who needs talking?
Exactly.
Show me pictures moving. Just show me the visual story, and then I'll figure out the rest. I'll fill in the blanks.
Exactly.
Are there any projects? Are there any is there a part of you that wants to work in horror anymore? Like do another horror film now after doing late night? Like, would you be open to horror projects?
Absolutely. I just put a tape down for a horror thing a couple of days ago. So
great.
Just hoping for the best. It's like, and as you know now, with a kid though, it's
I know. I can't. Everything slows down, but it feels like forever.
Yeah,
it's a weird time dilation and stretching and but feeling short too. It's weird.
Well, because I live in Sydney, like that's where we're based. But I generally 95% of my work is away from Sydney. And now that I have a 3-month-old, you just have to add into the contracts you got to like add the family, like take the family with me where I go, or it becomes harder if you're away for such a long time. But definitely, I'm open to. Yeah, I love and there are no fans quite as supportive and wonderful as horror fans. So.
Oh yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, our whole horror community here on YouTube and stuff, it's a very tight knit community.
Yeah, look, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but Star Wars fans in general aren't as supportive.
Yeah. No. I mean, I love the original 3. I have a little nostalgia for episode 1 and 2, and then that's about it for me. Like I'm not a big sci-fi guy. Like it has to be very, very original and creative. You remember I always bring this one up because I think it's one of my favorite movies and it's so creative. Is Luke Besson's The Fifth Element?
Yeah,
that's such a great movie.
That's such a great movie.
There's stuff in that I've never seen since or before it, like the divas dancing, the alien with the tentacles, she's doing the opera hip hop music. All of that is so out there, but that's the type of sci-fi that works for me.
In Australia, on May the 5th every year, one of our free-to-air channels, SBS, has a thing called May the Fifth Element, where they just play the Fifth Element on repeat all day.
Really? Ginger, how come you never told me that, Jason? How can you never tell me that? I love the Fifth Element. I would tap into Australian television
just for one day.
Just for that day. Yeah.
Just put the Blu-ray on at home, JT, and you can just do that.
I know, right? I watch it pretty often. That's a favorite sci-fi film of mine. What last thing, and then if anyone has any questions left in the chat, like type them up, and then I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's been great. What are some of your favorite horror films of all time?
Mm.
And you got to think right now, otherwise you're in trouble.
Again, I just think of
on
like
the spot.
I just think of like moments and stuff. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but the first thing that came to mind is like that one sequence in It Follows where you first like where you can see the thing just slowly walking towards them and then just start like brutalizing everyone.
The what in the intro with the leg
No,
snap?
like
Oh.
at the like by the beach house.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah,
and just
yeah.
walks. What's there's a Korean
That's a great
film.
movie too.
That's a
That
great
movie's
movie.
divisive. I know people who don't like that movie at all, but and I know a lot who love it, and I love it.
JT, just need a couple of good moments, and then I'm sold for.
Yeah, I love it.
What's
Follows.
it? Korean The Witch? Is that what it's called? There's a Korean film called The Witch, and like the final sequence of that in a cave is like one of the most horrific
I don't
things
know
I've
if I
ever
saw
seen.
I don't know if I saw that one. The Korean.
Watch it. It's yeah.
I know the movie, the American movie, the Witch, or the
Is that the one with the? Is that the one where Satan speaks through a goat or something near the end?
Yeah. Like I don't like the movie at all. Like because it's set in like I don't like movies that are set in like the 1700s and stuff like that, but yet they don't speak how they would back then at all, because then it just breaks my immersion in a movie. And if my followers and friends know, I nitpick things in movies. Like I just love overanalyzing movie logic for no reason, just because that's how my brain works. And the nitpicking continuity, it's fun, and it's just how I've always watched movies. But you know,
I'll send you the IMDb of that Korean film.
Yeah, definitely. Because I add movies to a watch list constantly, just to check new ones out or ones that I haven't seen in forever. But yeah. Anyone in chat? If anyone has any other questions, if not, I can't thank you enough, man. This has been so much fun, and thanks for taking your time. And I know it's busy. And congrats again on the newborn. Congrats on the kid. I mean, what's the name?
Aya. Her name is Aya.
Aya. Oh, that's a great name.
Ayah.
Oh, that's great. I wish you the best, man. That's such great news. And yeah, definitely, like you said before we went live, yeah, it's a big change, but it's a great change. And as I'm sure you know.
I'll talk to you in 10 years to see how my 10-year-old rated with your 10-year-old.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good. We'll see how things are in the decade. We'll check back. We'll look back on this stream here, and we'll see. But hang on for a sec after I end the live, and I'll thank you again. But all right, guys in chat, thank you guys for watching, and everyone in the future, thanks for watching, and definitely check out some of Fayssal's stuff that's coming up, and look for him in something horror, and another horror movie soon. But all right, guys, take care.